what was that TV show with Robin Williams? Good morning,
Good morning,
Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Yeah. I feel like that guy sometimes. All right. Moving on. It's June 8th. Uh, Quick reminder, I'll spare you the speech, but the next 60 days are going to make or break your year. I think June and July is going to determine how great or how good your year is going to become because we are hitting a pop in this summer, and I think it's going to dictate the downhill of 2026 these next 60 days. So just a reminder for everybody to be on it. Richard, how are you?
Doing good, doing good. Looking forward to today's discussions.
For a minute, I thought you had a blue tie on, but I realized it's not. So there you go. All right, let's jump. All right, let's get the numbers up here. Hey, you know what? I was going to show you something real quick before we jumped into the numbers. I had a conversation with an agent out of Fort Lauderdale that was making an offer on a $1.5 million property. They offered 1.2 and the seller didn't respond to them. And I said, okay, well, how'd you come up with 1.2? What was the expectation of the buyer? And we dove into the stats and I said, well, let's look at this a little bit more hyper local. So I went in here to Florida. I went to luxury stats. The property was a single family in Broward County. So I selected Broward and I selected single family and I selected the price range 1.25 to 1.5. And I came down here and there's these two buttons. One is percentage of a last list price and percentage of original list price. So when I clicked this, we came over here to the month of April and I said, okay, so the properties in this price range, single family, Broward County, in the month of April, the ones that sold for 96.3% of original list price. And if they had had a price reduction, the ones that sold for 98% of the last list price. And I said, okay, so at 1.4 or at 1.5 million, if you use those percentages, it says the ones that sold on average or at median of about 1.4 million. And I said, so here's the thing, not that your buyer's wrong, not that the seller was correctly priced. However, your buyer is probably concerned that they're overpaying. So this gives you a data point to be able to go back to that buyer and let them know what the market's telling them in terms of what properties are selling for in relationship to asking price. And it gives you context to where you're able to have that conversation with a seller if somebody's coming in low. It gives you context to have with a buyer if they're trying to figure out what to offer on a property. Richard, what do you think of this?
Yeah, guys, this is the old Chartmaster programs in a whole new format that make it so much easier for you to zero in on exactly what you're talking about for either a buyer or a seller. This is just an incredible tool that you develop, Brett.
Yep. The cool thing is you can click this export button and drop it into a presentation slide, an Instagram post. I heard last week we should add a Google Business post as an option. But bottom line is you could drop this into an email in a pricing conversation with a seller. You could drop this into a email to a expectation conversation with your buyer. It was a real live example I had with a girl in Fort Lauderdale. And I thought it was worthy of just bringing to the call real quick. All right. Okay. Let's go. Broward County, single family. We've got 820 active. So my suspicion was correct last week that the numbers were a little disrupted as a result of the 3-day holiday weekend. So we had a big pop of inventory, active inventory status changes, at least in Broward County single family. I think it's going to hold true most across the board. We do have a large number of coming soons. We had 178 go under contract and 129 go pending in the last 7 days. Certainly had a drop in closings because we're coming off first week of the month after the end of the month closings. So nothing really shocking there. Your expired listings tend to heavy end of month. So there's certainly a drop first week of the month on there. If I go Broward County condos, where'd it go? Up top. Broward County condos. We had a big pop of active listing status changes here, almost an 18% increase, 924. Prior to the Memorial weekend into May, we were looking 970s, 960s. So 924 is not exactly back there yet, but certainly a bigger increase after the holiday weekend. They had 123 go under contract, 86 go pending in the last 7 days. So, we're holding trend, maybe a little off trend of what we saw in May. But back to my comment, the next 60 days are going to determine your 2026. And I really expect these numbers to hold through the summer months here. 152 closed out in the last 7 days, which is still a strong number. But it's not what we were seeing in April and May. So maybe it's a little softer, probably interest rate driven. And then same comment, expired, withdrawn, canceled is down, expected first week of the month, not the end of the month expiration. If I hit Miami-Dade, single family, Miami-Dade single family, 674 active status changes. Not the same inventory we were seeing in May. May had that spring market listings. Still a strong number for June. Properties coming on the market. Under contract 152. That is consistent with the number of properties we were seeing go under contract in May. 157 pending, a little bit less. So maybe there's more mortgage transactions, less cash transactions. I'm not sure yet. We'll have to dive a little deeper. 153 closed out last 7 days. We saw a lot in May and April. We're not seeing the condo closings equal to the volume in end of May and June that we were seeing late spring, which is probably the season, right? And then same comment on expireds. If I do Miami-Dade, I'm sorry, that was single family. Single family closings have slowed down a little bit in Miami-Dade. In Miami-Dade condo, 949 or 945 active status, big pop. 112 went under contract, which is still a good volume for Miami-Dade. 129 are pending, a little bit softer here, but a big closing number of 142, highest it's seen in 3 weeks. So certainly some movement there. If I run out to Palm Beach, single family, Palm Beach single family, 812 new active status changes. That's a big number. We saw a big number at the beginning of May, but we haven't seen that big of a number in 5-6 weeks of single family listing Palm Beach. 210 went under contract. Same comment. It's not as strong as it was in May, but still holding its own. 93 pending. A little bit of a drop here. It looks like not too crazy, but certainly a little softer and going under contracts. I've got to believe that has some interest rate effect inside of that. 316 closed. Obviously, our failed properties. If I hit condo, Palm Beach, I've got 632 new active status changes. 100 went under contract. It's been dropping last 3 weeks. We've got 59 pending, 158 closed out, which is a little bit softer, and then certainly our failed listings. What do you see, Richard?
Consistency.
Yeah, I don't think it's negative numbers. They're a little softer numbers than what we were seeing over the previous 60 days, but they're still good volume and consistent, right?
Yeah, the business is definitely there. It's May is always one of the busier months of the year. People are moving before summertime. Summer is going to be consistent. I think we're going to see these numbers stay like this over the summer.
Yeah, that's why I keep saying my rally cry right now is the next 60 days are going to make or break your year in relationship to your goals.
Well, and
Yep.
you can't, the bigger picture data wouldn't support a lull in your business. So if you're not feeling activity and movement, you need to make changes. It's not because the market's necessarily affecting that capacity or opportunity. It's consistent enough that the data, you should be able to do as well or better than your competitors, if you're strategic enough.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. Any other thoughts around the numbers before we move forward? Oh, wise ones. Okay. The $1.5 billion question every listing agent must answer right now. The Richard, what's your thoughts on this before I jump into mine?
This is the one with the private listings and
Yes.
the effect of not putting it in the MLS and exposing it to everybody immediately. Yeah, guys, this to me, this is a no-brainer. This never made any sense to me, never will. And that's all that this article is talking about. Took a long time to get there, and I believe it's his very last statement on this article that kind of sums it up.
It does.
Yeah.
I think it's the 1.3 comes from, and there's some arguments why that figure is inflated and not reality based. But at the end of the day, I think anyone with a commonsensical brain realizes that mass promoted and available homes will garner a better price because of supply and demand.
Maximum exposure always drives the best
does.
price.
But it did prove a point in court. I mean, they forced them to put everything back on Zillow. So I think that's a positive for the industry as it, made its way through the court systems.
Yeah, and I noticed that, so the three big MLSs that are kind of being disruptive are Chicago, Nashville, and Bright, which is the Northeast. Chicago was the front runner. They put the Zillow listings back on. Nashville punted the football, if you understand the analogy, meaning they actually didn't cut the feed. They're threatening to cut the feed, but they actually chose not to cut the feed. But what you need to understand is this, that the data is saying off-market properties are sold for 1.3% less than the listings marketed on the open market. And why I think this is important is perception is reality at a listing appointment. And when you go to a listing appointment and you get caught in a conversation with a seller around, do I pre-market my listing? Do I off-market my listing? You've got to be able to handle that conversation with that seller and tell them that, listen, the data is saying properties that went off market or pre-market and sold in that period of time actually left about 1.3% on average on the table. And that's 1.5 billion is the clickbait number of how much money was left on the table in terms of off MLS listings. Yet I do think, I mean, talk to me. Are y'all getting caught in these conversations at the listing table?
Is it even a conversation at the consumer level?
No, it's not.
I didn't think so. Not yet. Only, I mean, it probably would be in Chicago.
Elsa?
Sorry. It's not a conversation that I have with the listing. It wasn't a conversation that I have with a buyer who felt that he will make a better deal when it's off market. So that conversation I have there. But I wanted to ask you another question about the MLS, because I end up to be part of the Beach MLS and the Miami MLS, because I realized that when I'm doing my research, I do not have the same results. And I would like to know if I thought that's something that would be, merged and we will have the same results.
It is. It's being merged. We're in the middle of all this because we're crunching our data, right? But like if you look in here on our monthly stats and all inventory, right? But if I hit Broward, there's 9,050 properties in all active inventory. If I hit Palm Beach, there's 13,676. If I hit Miami, 920. So I'm watching this number right here to tell me when the data is actually being merged.
It's being merged tomorrow.
It's supposed to be merged tomorrow, Luke says. So you're right, Elsa. It was a split MLS system, and we're trying to get all the data linked, but we're not seeing it linked yet. Luke's found out from them that it's supposed to all merge tomorrow.
Okay.
I think next Monday we'll probably have a clearer picture of exactly what that MLS data merger will look like. But I can tell you it's not all merged yet.
Okay. Thank you
Make
very
sense?
much.
All right.
Yeah.
She brought up an interesting point, though, about it being an opportunity for a buyer. And I guess that could be part of a conversation, too. But at the end of the day, the power play made by Compass and the MLSs has nothing to do with helping buyers or sellers. And it's really about control and about future profits and having a national MLS that's they control.
Yep.
And it's appearing to me.
To that point, Rick, I don't know if y'all saw this last week, but the New York Attorney General opened up an antitrust case against Compass. And literally, I believe this whole national MLS, this private listing push is what's causing this Attorney General to open up an antitrust case, because it's not a free market when one player causes the rules to change. The rules change when the industry aligns for rules to change, not when one specific player wants the rules to change. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in court. My favorite thing to say is grab your popcorn, let's go. We're just watching it all, but it's certainly highly disrupted to our industry and our way of doing business when we're on this call every other week going, hey, Zillow listings are getting cut. Hey, private listings are doing that. Hey, they're trying to do a national MLS. Hey. It is a disruption, but our job's to stay on top of it and get in front of it, right? But I do think the legal system will offer you, the real estate agent, some protection, so that our way of life and our way of doing business will hold true. Make sense? Was there anything else in this that we worthy of hitting? I don't think
this is going to be a future play to see how it might change things. And this goes back. You heard from Chris and Jennifer and a couple others when you asked, are they having these conversations in their listing appointments? The general public's not paying attention to it. This is important to the thousands of realtors out there who are waiting to see how their business may or may not be affected.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this is a big topic. So this tax break, and I had a conversation with Justin Himmelbaum after our call last week. Like, we're all trying to get our heads wrapped around what this tax break means, good and bad. But the consumer is certainly in tune with the dialogue around it because it's all over the news, right? So how are we explaining this? Richard, you want to take a stab?
Um, Not really, because I'll get political with it.
All right.
Well, here's my point of view with it, guys. Money comes in, money goes out. If money doesn't come in, how's it going to go out to fund what you need to fund? This is, it's moving money around in my opinion, for political reasons, without doing anything to really help people. Changing the taxes, yeah, that's good for a whole group of people. When you look at the number of investors there are, when you look at the second homes that are there that aren't affected by this at all, those people are going to be paying for the bulk of our bills. But if I'm no longer paying for what funds the police department, the fire department, the sewer and water departments, all of the services that are provided to me as a homeowner, where's that money coming from?
Yeah. So I'm going to caution the agents from getting caught in political statements about this, because I think inevitably, regardless what side of the fence you're on, you're going to end up in a conversation with somebody with a differing opinion, right?
Correct.
However, what I thought was interesting about this article is somebody must buy a house before December 31st to actually take advantage of this. Whether it's right or wrong, you're going to have to close on a property before the end of the year, or you're going to have to wait 4 years to get the exemption. Now, why I think that's an important thing is I think it's going to create motivation for people that are moving to Florida for tax purposes to close on property before the end of the year. And I think that actually is going to work to our advantage in terms of motivation with buyers. And I think it could work motivation for listings too, in the sense that, hey, we have to get your property on the market in the next 60 days, in the next 3 months, to catch the buyers that are trying to take advantage of this tax shelter. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it will also motivate renters. I think it's an amazing tool for us, actually.
Okay.
The narrative that you can play to our consumers, best interest.
Correct.
Yeah, I actually have an email.
Go
ahead, Dave.
I have an email, Brett, you brought up exactly what I was going to say. I have an email going out this morning. I have 4 buyers, 2 in New York and 2 in California, who've been on the fence about buying here. And whether you buy into this whole thing or not, it's a great tool to get people moving right now.
Conversation starter.
It's certainly a conversation starter. The question is, in marketing, it's all about what's your message. So the message is there is an opportunity that goes away for 4 years at December 31st. So does that play into motivation or not, in my opinion? And I have political opinions, as do all of you. And I don't know that that specifically serves your real estate business well to go too deep into the political opinions. I think you just get into interpretation. And, the reality is, I've talked on these calls all the time. We land in political conversations in real estate. It's inevitable. Like the politics fight over policies and laws that affect real estate. And there are constituents in every city on both sides of that fence. The best stance you can take, in my opinion, as a real estate agent, is interpretation and what it means. Not opinions on whether it's good or bad. It's more an interpretation of what it means for a buyer or seller today. And that's kind of how I think we navigate this world, because it's impossible to avoid politics, but the interpretation is what I think your advice and opinion is best served in. Go ahead, Scott.
And Brett, I totally agree with that. You need to stay away from getting into political discussions. When I'm on the tennis courts, I do it enough with the guys I play with, and it never goes anywhere because I'm not changing their mind. They're not changing mine. But you need to really understand this particular discussion. Research what this is, because you don't want to tell somebody, if you don't buy by December 31st, this is what's going to happen. Because they might have read the entire article and know more than you do. For example, Brett, it's not 4 years down the road that all of a sudden the deduction kicks in. It's a phased-in deduction over that time frame. So they save a little bit the first year, a little bit the second year, a little bit the third, and then they get the full benefit that we would get right now. If you don't know that and somebody comes to you with that information, you're sitting there with egg on your face. So understand what this is really all about and what it could or could not mean to your people.
Correct.
Be careful stating facts.
You also have that. Sorry, my lawyer hat is on right now, and my Atlanta hat, not my IU hat. You also have to have these conversations with the caveat that this has to pass by I guess a supermajority, 60%. So don't falsely lure anybody into making a decision. That has to be an absolute part of the conversation as well. We've had tons of things on the ballot that seem like a dunk that never passed.
Yeah, 100% variable. Tremendous.
I think you've got to lean in sometimes when things like this come and hit the news cycle, because your job as a real estate agent is to advise. Your job as a real estate agent is to give advice and opinions. And but I also think your job as a real estate agent is to generate leads. You've got to go find people that are looking to buy and sell real estate. And the X factor of that is motivation. So when things like this come down the pipe, the question is, how does it affect motivation? And ultimately, that's what we're trying to interpret on here, right? Like, right now, mortgage rates aren't doing us any favors. They're kind of at a high, right? And if I get into the mortgage rates today, we're at 6.66. Love, not love. I don't think the consumer stopped. And there's an article here, and I'm bouncing around a little bit, that housing demand stays positive with mortgage rates near 2026 highs. So housing demand is still pushing. We're seeing that in the numbers. I do think it's slowed just ever so slightly, but I still think we're having a great housing demand right now. And the question is, how do you interpret that? How do you push on that? What's your messaging you're putting out there to the world to attract buyers and sellers to you? Make sense?
It's just proving that a quarter point left or right of what you'd consider ideal is irrelevant for a motivated buyer and seller who need to go and make an exchange.
Yep. Last thing I'm going to hit real quick. I can't tell you, nothing short of 50 people send me articles. There's all of a sudden a media thing where people are writing articles around how they used AI in lieu of a real estate agent to sell their house, or in lieu of a real estate agent to buy their house. I don't think this is going to be mainstream, but I think you need to understand this because you got to find your role inside of this. And what AI does not do is give great advice and opinions, although the consumer thinks that it does. And what I mean by that is there is nuance to real estate that a real estate agent brings to the equation from a value proposition that AI does not. And outside of going into a 20, 30-minute discussion around this, you need to be clear on what you bring to the table that AI does not. And I think there was one on the Wall Street Journal. This one's on Inman. I can tell you, I've had it forwarded to me about 50 times. I'm assuming you've seen it or read it, or if you haven't, you should at this point. Any thoughts, Elsa?
Not specifically. I agree with you. I'm not sure for how long, but I just wanted to remind everybody that we are doing an AI class this Wednesday from 1:30 to 2.
Okay.
Oh, 1 to 2:30, sorry. So no, I agree with you on that. But I start to have clients coming with analyze and thought about ChatGPT told me this, and I found that property on ChatGPT. They are no more looking on Zillow. I do have that, definitely.
Okay. Moving forward, guys. Thank you for being here. Happy Monday. Dave, you got a last comment?
I just wanted to ask Elsa if she'll come teach that class in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, there you go.
Come in my office, Dave. It's not that far. It's 30 minutes. Come on.
We have something else scheduled on Wednesday.
All right.
Okay.
Love you guys.
Maybe
Bye.
Brett was in
Thank you
Florida.
all. Have a great
60
week.
days, the next 60 days. Make it happen.